I am back with part two of my presentation. And I did, for this purpose of time, I did mix the step three, the capability target, and the design strategy on the same section of my paper. So pick back up at tsunami. In the event of a tsunami, an immediate response will be needed. Immediate responses should happen within 1 minute of an earthquake, being the tsunami warning system activated by the city. Residents will flee for higher ground above 100 feet of sea level. One option being Mount Marathon Mountain, which has predetermined trails that can allow residents to gain higher ground quickly. Buses will also be available as well. City will have a manifest with a number of contact information of elderly and disabled individuals that will require immediate help from volunteers to assist. The sources needed in response for a tsunami are the following, and they are listed again right here. And the design strategy recommendations associated with this hazard will consist of developing secondary evacuation routes. Drill on dry run community evacuations of evacuation routes will be implemented. And all public buildings will have a AWS system, Alaska Weather System radios installed to allow city broadcasts of tsunami warnings and watches. The city will develop public education to concentrate on what to do during the event of a tsunami. In the event of a severe weather storm, an immediate response will be needed. Residents of Seward will be alerted within 24 to 72 hours of the severe weather event. With the emergency services on standby for evacuation or rescue, automated weather service observation will help issue timely and accurate warnings that may save lives and minimize property damage. The city should identify, recover, and secure medical transport for 40 people. The resources needed in response to severe weather storm are the following. Once again, they're listed right here. The design strategy recommendation associated with this hazard will consist of building a network response among private and public contractors to assist during a severe storm, and informing the public of the Alaska Weather System in preparation of potential weather advisories. Community will actively use early warning systems that involve the community at risk, facilitate public education and awareness of these risks, effectively disseminate alerts and warnings, and ensure there is a constant state of preparedness. Coast Guard will be notified and on standby in the case of assistance. In the event of an avalanche or landslide, an immediate response will be needed. Within 2 hours of the incident, identify, recover, and secure medical transport for at least 40 people. We'll need to account for the number of fallen structures and the number of damaged infrastructure. Automated weather observations will help issue timely and accurate warnings that may save lives and minimize property damage. The resources needed, once again, for this avalanche landslides are the following. Design strategy recommendation associated with this hazard will consist of identifying avalanche areas within the city and generating hazard maps, including coordinating and community development on locations of the area for any zoning issues. Safe parking zones will be created for residents, and city will develop and install signs that designate avalanche danger zones. Okay. For my SPR, or the Stakeholder Preparedness Review, this was new to me. We did not go over this, but hope I did it right. I did a lot of research on it, and I think I nailed it, hopefully. So I analyzed the gaps in my initial assessment of the city of Seward's capabilities against the identified hazards. I addressed the gaps with how the city of Seward has prepared for those hazards. So flooding. The past year, the city has been working closely with the Seward Bear Creek flood service area and has identified flood mitigation problems and recommended solutions within their capabilities. These recommendations have been approved by the City Council and sponsored by the state and federal funding. Assistance from FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was necessary for problems that exceeded the capability of the city. Some projects that were approved were providing flood information and technical assistance to residents about the flood hazards and the possible activities for mitigations. City has addressed gaps, one being the use of broadcast systems being able to transmit warnings. Another gap was increasing the amount of private stakeholders donating their time and equipment. For earthquakes, in 2004, the city had an objective to obtain land for a secondary evacuation route. This bypasses the Seward Lagoon and Boat Harbor areas to address the need for an alternate route if needed. The Seward Planning and Zoning Commission approved this request and replay the land owned by the city. Since the Good Friday earthquake exposed many vulnerabilities to the fuel tanks, the city created brochures to educate homeowners how to properly secure these tanks, which limits the secondary disasters from starter fires. In addition, building codes are to stay in current with state requirements. Building related to critical infrastructure and earthquake-proof structures thanks to funding from the federal government. Seward routinely practices mock emergency exercises and evaluates the community's response. Brochures have been provided yearly to residents on updated information and earthquake preparation and hazards. For tsunamis, Seward has had a high tsunami hazard causing many mitigation measures. The city has put together brochures, evacuation maps, pamphlets, and signs designated to help the people at potential risk. The city has partnered with the state of Alaska and Kenai Peninsula Bureau and developed of tsunami warning signals. With the assistance of the state of Alaska, DHS, USGS, UAF, Geological Department, and the NOAA, they have finalized a new indentation map for the community. The previous map was outdated and did not use current modern equipment for accurate results. The current map provides the effects of different sized waves and effects from those waves generated inside the outside of Resurrection Bay. For severe weather will continue to be a high probability for the city. Weather can disrupt communications as well as power, transportation, emergency services, and pose risk to individuals. Another serious issue is that food and medical supplies can quickly be decimated in the event of a severe weather storm. To address this issue, the city has rebuilt the circuit lines to withstand known weather conditions, rebuilt old transmission lines to withstand knock weather conditions, and information now is relayed quicker to the public through AWS radio in preparation of potential weather advisories. For avalanche landslides, this is a modern probability of snow avalanches within the city of Seward. To minimize the damage to infrastructure, Seward has identified avalanche areas within the city and generated GIS hazard maps. In addition, roads are commonly closed during the winter from snow avalanches. The same roads are incredibly prone to landslides during heavy rainfall as well. Seward has developed and installed signs designated avalanche zones and safe parking areas along these roads that they are commonly closed to hazards of avalanche and landslides. Seward is at risk of losing power lines or street lights because of these hazards, so funding was permitted by the city building underground distribution lines and diversion structures in those hot zones. And for my conclusion, Seward has learned a lot from the Good Friday earthquake, and I feel like they're taking the right steps forward. And yeah, that was my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a great semester, and I wish you all the best.